Believe it or not, I don't spend my whole life thinking about mental health. Or do I? I devote a lot of time in my life to this channel, to writing the scripts for it, filming and editing the videos, writing Substack essays that support the ideas in this post, and promoting on Instagram and Twitter and wherever I happen to be in the social media sphere. I also spend a lot of time searching up articles and books about happiness and fulfillment and recovering from PTSD, anxiety, and depression. I'm really and truly fascinated by this stuff, but it's not my whole life. I want to talk about 5 things that I'm into that are not mental health related, mostly. So here we go. Number 1, board games. I don't know if you've noticed the shelf behind me, but it is equally divided into board games and books. And I will tell you that the board game collection mostly is curated by my husband, but I can also tell you that he wouldn't have anyone to play board games with if I weren't into them. And I love playing games. I love playing them with my husband, with my son, and with our group of friends who are almost all gamers. I have this dream of hosting a monthly board game night with soup and sandwiches and good friends, whoever wants to drop in and socialize and play a little. I haven't quite realized that dream, except for a few months while we lived in Colorado before coming to LA, but someday it'll happen. Gaming is a great way to spend quality time with family and friends, but it also does something else. The best games, and I'm not talking Monopoly or Sorry or Trouble here, those classic American kids games. I'm talking about more complex, nuanced, modern style, grown-up board games. Those force you into a state of flow. Your mind is occupied in analyzing your choices, looking at paths, thinking about your strategy in the game, and it's a very freeing place to be. When you're embroiled in a game and it's a really diverting, involved game, you don't have a chance to think about a lot of the stressors or bad things in your life. Second thing I'm into. I'm really into personal style and wardrobe building. I've done a few videos on this, and I have a whole second online life related to personal style and clothing, and probably even some of you online come from that world. I really enjoy the kind of self-analysis that's involved in determining your personal style. It's really a means of creating an identity and deciding who you are inside and how you feel most comfortable presenting yourself in the world. Plus, clothing can be a real comfort. I know that there are certain pieces that I reach for when I'm having high anxiety days. There are certain pieces that I reach for when I want to feel super cool and confident. And there's other pieces that I grab when I just want something to swaddle me and make me feel held. When you're thinking about developing a wardrobe, you have to take all of that into account, along with your own identity and something that's really important to me, the sustainability of what you're doing. That is an incredible challenge. I find it an exercise in self-realization, and it will probably be an ongoing hobby for me for the rest of my life. The third thing that I'm into that's not mental health is home decor. I have Pinterest boards full of rich, luxe, boho interiors, full of books and art and plants, and that is what I strive for in my own home. I like home decor for a lot of the reasons that I like personal style. I'm not really interested in going out and helping someone else develop their style or helping someone else decorate their home, but for myself, it is an exercise in knowing myself and creating an environment that I want to spend time in. And in my home too, it's creating an environment that I want to invite others into. I want people who come into my home to feel welcome. More than welcome. I really want people who come into my home, including myself, to feel embraced. So I am not particularly good at home decor, but I do think that my home expresses who I am, and it becomes more of me and my family all of the time. And I love just daydreaming about it. It's a source of fantasy and joy and self-expression in my life. It makes me happy to be surrounded by the things that I consider beautiful. The fourth thing on my list is travel. And this surprises me a little when I dig down into it, because travel is uncomfortable, and I will be the first to admit that I am not a great traveler. When we were in Europe last month, my husband felt like he was a failure at traveling our trip because he said, "You've cried 2 or 3 times a day every day since we got here." And yeah, that's true. I get overwhelmed easily. I get frustrated easily. I have to be fed and rested on a regular basis, which isn't always possible when you're traveling. But I love the experience of travel. I want to be challenged in that way. And I want that feeling of stepping out of my everyday life and into new places and new perspectives and new experiences. Going to new places shakes up my thinking patterns, and that is incredibly valuable to me because my thinking patterns need some shaking up, let's be honest. Number 5, the last thing on my list, is reading. I mentioned earlier, our bookcases are split half and half between games and books. But I will admit that the books that are on my shelves right now are kind of legacy pieces of who I was in the past. These days, almost all of my reading is done with books checked out of the library or bought on iBooks and loaded onto my iPad. I don't buy a lot of books these days. I do read a lot of books. I was an English major. I am fully capable of taking a great work of literature, breaking it down, analyzing it, understanding all of the nuances. But that's not what I do when I read now. Now I mostly grab a mystery or an urban fantasy novel and I dive in and I swim in the wonder of it. Reading is the most immersive hobby that I have. It is fully immersive for me in a way that something like watching television or a movie is not. When I am reading, I am 100% engaged. I think for a lot of my life, I actually used reading books as a form of dissociation, especially when I was a child and just wanting to escape from my life. Nowadays, reading for me is more of a healthy dissociation. It is a way to escape from my life, but I do it in doses that keep me sane rather than allow me to avoid the responsibilities and the realities I'm facing. As you hear me dip into psychobabble like dissociation and creating identity, you probably know where I'm going with the whole of this list, don't you? We all have these hobbies in our lives, these things that keep us occupied and bring us joy. And I think that it's worth thinking of all of those as valuable parts of our self-care and our mental health. Every single hobby that I spend time on has a connection to my personal well-being. Whether that's encouraging me to spend time with family and friends, helping me to create an identity and explore who I am and who I want to be, or giving me a break from my current life and shaking up my thought patterns. Those hobbies are really, really important to us. So now that I've told you my hobbies, why don't you tell me in the comments what you're into? Are we into any of the same things? Are you interested in any of the things that I am? Also, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up if you've made it this far. That really helps me spread the message of my channel and get it out to more people. And if you're not subscribed already, be sure to subscribe. Until next time, I am wishing you love and joy and all those good things, and I can't wait to talk to you again. Oh, if you enjoyed this video, you might like one of these. This one is an early video I made about my wardrobe, and this video is about all of the books I read last year.